Hey, good morning, my neighbors, to another episode of BYTTT. Before you take the trade, I got a lot of work to do, so we're gonna go ahead and start talking about my leap as I'm trying to rebound a little bit, and it was annoying. That's the best way I'll say it. Go ahead and hit the like, subscribe, and the bell button. That way, you can know when I am online. What it do, Rod? What's going on? And we'll get this party started. So here it is. This is my leap. I got 74 on ES. I got 287 on the Qs. Wait, you already know it as NQ. And I think this thing is my remote control is not working after I start the stream. Of course it won't. But yeah, so we got this nice little move here. What I think they're trying to do, I think they're trying to recapture the wick here, get up into this register on the 2 hour, probably even trying to get into the rest of the fair value gap here. I think their real target is somewhere around here. Let's go ahead and look right again and see. Nope, probably even higher than that. Probably even higher than that. Let's see. Is there something else that's here? Maybe this target here. That could be where they're looking for. Yeah, because we kind of rejected off of that zone there, sitting at like 254. And then we have oil. I tried to play oil a couple times. They kind of really toyed with my account today, but you could kind of see with the London session, it kind of rejected from that lower register. I tried to play it down with the bearish momentum, but they kind of pushed it right back up. Just being annoying. London session did not mark off. Yeah, it was right before London session that I tried to make that move, and they were just difficult, really difficult. So it is what it is. Can't cry over spilled ticks and just keep it moving. Gold was another one. This 200 moving average really finished tough. I woke up to it being around this register. I got out. Maybe I should have left it alone because I probably could have got out when they touched it this third time. But I didn't want it to find. I didn't want to find out if it was going to go all the way up into here, so I got out of that position. Another London session, no respect, I would say, right? Kind of, because we should have just broken out of here in this range, but you can kind of see they're using the bottom side of that London session to keep it up. And that's Asian. And then Silver was making all of this move, and actually Silver was a little bit of a surprise because Silver was pushing all the way up as soon as we kind of opened up. I want to say it was back, yeah, back here. So they had a nice little range. Try to break down, went massive, but then they bought all of the dip, and then out of nowhere, it kind of pushed itself all the way up into this upper register. So I didn't think it was going to pop into the range again when it came that second time on the rejection, and it did. Very interesting move. I don't play silver, but I like to kind of like chart it because it does drag gold all over the place. Lately, it has not led. It's more like it follows gold, which is a little bit different. So we'll see how that goes. And then this one is Asian. All right, and then let's see. We got ourselves British pound. This one got above its Asian session levels. When London opened, roughly around here, most of the move is already exhausted, so it kind of sat here, and we're kind of like in this range here. I want to see London break out here on the New York session, and maybe we'll get some supporters from that side and probably push the rest of NQ and ES back up. This is the London session here. This is the Asian session there, and you could kind of see we sat on top of the Asian. We're trying to sit on top of the London right now and see where that goes. Russell, I was actually in Russell. I'm a little mad at myself because I kind of got a little paranoid because it created a gap on Sunday, and I was doing this in my eval, but it really held properly, and I had a feeling I was going to retest. If you remember, I kind of showed y'all how the small caps operate, and we kind of did one of these actions. So I felt like it was going to be a bounce, and I probably could have had this whole entire fair value gap. This was about 24 points, but missed out on it. It is what it is. I made a small amount of money, but can't cry over spilled ticks. Let me go ahead and mark off the London session. So this is Asian here, and this is London right over here. London org. All right, and then the final one is your infamous dollar, which during its London session, it got under one of my momentum moves, and I felt like it was going to make the market pop, which gave me a little bit of confidence on holding on. But oh my God, I woke up at 6, and this thing was doing everything against my position. I'll show you what I mean. This was, let me go into 5 minutes, probably going to give you more context. So I woke up at 6 after having all of this profits, right? Because again, I've been in this far back. So you talking about it got up to, well, more than that, 180 ticks just to come all the way to break even, actually going red for a little bit, and then it kind of bounced. So that was real painful to watch. And then I said, you know what, let me just go take a nap real quick, because if I don't, I might close the position. I did think we was going to sit right on top of the block, right here. Let me get myself ready for my next, because this is a 6 o'clock. 9:45. We got bullish momentum, so we got right through that block, and I was anticipating that that block was going to hold, and it looks good, and I think it's gonna go for that 22.080 by New York session. That's what it probably is going to do. Yeah, so that's that. I don't think I'm gonna give y'all any lessons per se, but let's go ahead and understand what are we facing next month again, right? I've already did some snippets. I'm probably going to see some snippets on my channel, probably in the size of shorts, of me breaking down individual tickers and making it make sense. And my goal behind that is to kind of get y'all prepared for the next earnings cycle. If you do IV flushes, it'll probably give you a little bit of an insight. Maybe you could play it before the IV flush based on the parameters that's there. If you're not into IV, I'm sorry, if you're into IV flush, you can play it before the parameters there. That's what I meant to say. And if you are not into IV flushes, you got a solid play that allows you to can get some real good amount of money. And then if you did want to get into those, you could get into it. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button. Down below is my one-on-ones that kind of can break down some of the nuances inside of your trading, so that way it can become a little bit better. You know, we always aim to be 1% better and be able to be a profitable trader. So that is the general goal. So let's go right into the chart. The first one I'm going to talk about, I think the ones that caught my attention. Let's go with Netflix. I'm going to take it from the farthest scale all the way down to kind of give you a little bit of an insight. And I'm going to probably start over some of the drawings too. All right. If you look at Netflix from a yearly standpoint, this is a massive, 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 massive move, right? A lot of stuff that they've been doing has been on the largest scale, and they've been really trying to protect their investors and their shareholders by doing certain actions. And this is no different, and I like what they've been doing. One of the things that I noticed is that that 1000 level is going to be a key level, but what I like to look for is like different order blocks. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this area right here and call this area as an order block, because this is how sometimes I see things, and I think this is areas that can be revisited, at least in, it's probably going to take a while before it gets there. So let's go ahead and break this down on the monthly and see what we're looking at. So we're kind of exhausted on that stochastic, and the MACD has been in this upper register on the monthly. So a weak month is probably missing. I think the reason why this one was a red candle was because of the psychological level of 1000. If we mark this level as the high, that's why everybody attacked, and the psychological level of 1000 would be somewhere around here. Let me go ahead and write that down and make it accurate. 1000 is what made everybody respond that way. So being able to get there, they probably just had a nice little sweep of people probably went ahead and took their profits here, or shorts that came in thinking that, all right, after 1000 it's just not going to go nowhere, and they were looking for a sizable discount. Maybe they were looking for a sizable discount based on, hold on, let me fix that. Boom and boom, and then boom, and then let me make this main so you can see it. Maybe they were looking for a solid discount into this area, but you can kind of see as we're crossing through like around that 50%, this was a previous area of resistance. I don't think they want to revisit that. This hasn't been a resistance at all, so I do think that that 236 can get tested, which is inside of our zone. But if this fair value gap continues to hold on the monthly, that means there will be this area to this area, and this will be our bullish fair value gap, right? If this continues to hold, this could be just all reload areas over and over. And again, they're one of the good companies. So I do like Netflix here. Weekly, it could do a nice little reset of that oscillator as well. Just very, very overheated. And then if we come down to the daily, that party has already started. And if anything, maybe we get a nice little retracement. Maybe this is an area of resistance. Maybe we got ourselves a micro trend to the downside, which would look something like this. And if there is going to be some type of deviation, would have broke through it, and they're trying to test this level here. So bearish under 176, 1176, bullish above anything inside of this range, as they'll probably start to attack pivots. Like this level here will be one at 1260, and then 1260 will fall relatively quickly. All right, let's talk about Meta. Meta is kind of like on that same stride too. Get rid of the drawing, start all the way over. This is an advertising company at this point. I don't pay any mind to anything else. Again, sitting on top of a large fair value gap that's sitting right here. I'm not going to leave that there because I don't think we're going to get anywhere near that at any time. I do want to mark off here as a place that they're probably going to be very curious to kind of check and see if they're going to have enough support, because there was a lot of sellers that pushed it down into that 400 range, and then they bought all of them back. Are they going to come back with a vengeance? That is a possibility. So let's go ahead and come down to the monthly. This area here is probably going to be one that everybody's going to be curious about, the 479 versus that lower 400. 50 EMA bounce will probably be good, but again, stochastic's already been resetted. We already had the bearish divergence. That was the move to the downside. Are we going to get that continuation here? Possibly, maybe. But if we really think about it, do they really want to attack this level now? And maybe that's the level that's going to go ahead and push this way, make the MACD cross down? Possibly. Let's go over to the weekly. A little heated. We didn't really fly through. If this thing starts to show a little bit of weakness as it's getting up into here, that could be the catalyst that makes this thing completely drop to that lower register. So just keep that in mind on Meta. Still a very, very strong stock. I think it can hit more highs. I won't be surprised if it hits 800, but this is just a couple things that I noticed. Nice little curl over here. Current trend deviation. We got a bit of a bullish, but then we got that bearish divergence sitting here on the histogram. So I'm very curious on how this is going to pan out. If I was to guess, maybe they're after this gap. Look for 714 for a possible rejection. Maybe a zone for them to continue back down, 716-ish, somewhere around there. Let me give you something a little cheaper. What did Tesla? But let's go something cheaper. Restoration Hardware. This one has been beat up badly. Let me get rid of my drawings. Um, Engulfed. This year has already engulfed it. So if there was any supporters that were here, they're probably like, all right, I guess we'll wait for $78. So very interesting spot for Restoration Hardware. If they don't pick it up here, could they be going out of business? I don't think so. I didn't see anything on the earnings like that. Still return positive to their shareholders. Oh, there was that. Oh, okay, I think I probably covered this already. Um, on the monthly, it looks like we got a couple of targets that we could be looking for. We could be looking for something inside of here based on the fair value gap, and then we could be looking inside of here based on the fair value gap. We're gonna have a little bit of issue between here because of that order block that's in between crossovers. That's probably gonna be your question. So I would say, if anything, they might be targeting between 318 and 326 before they start to sell. Nice curl up on the monthly. Let's see what the weekly has. Weekly already started the party, kind of did a W. A nice little break of this area here would be great. This would be 207, no, 232. That will give you a nice little W on Restoration Hardware. Again, their options is not the greatest. This is more investment side, but they're very, very good company. If you know them, they were the ones that kind of, all the high end folks kept on buying all that good stuff during the pandemic. Very, very solid earnings. They just kind of like skyrocketed out of nowhere, but now they kind of fell back to their normalcy. So it kind of reverts back to its means, right? So they were, before the pandemic, they were around $228. Now they use that 228 as support. They came and swept down here, and if anything is equal, maybe they swept down here so they can get more investors. Counting inflation, I think it should be above that 250 because we're nowhere near 2019's levels as far as valuation, and I think this is probably undervalued. Just off of common sense. All right, let's see if we can get something a little bit cheaper for y'all. Let's go with Starbucks. I've covered Starbucks before, but we're gonna just do that whole top-down analysis again. You can do the top-down analysis yourself. Great way to kind of practice seeing what levels you see and looking at it in its rawest form. Really, Starbucks is since 1992. I did not know that. I just learned something new. I don't think I knew anything about Starbucks until 2007. Of course, there were Seattle base and everything else, but you know, rumors was somebody visited Miami and they just took it back to the West. But anyways, that's a whole nother conversation. Not a cute sign here, right? Inside bar, inside bar, inside bar, inside bar, doji, 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 hammer, 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 right? Nothing smooth like this, right? So I won't say, from an investment standpoint, you probably want to hold on to this because you might see profits and then it'll take it right on back on you. So that probably is a little bit of a concern there. Let's come down on the monthly. Let's see if we can find something. Market dominance is saying that we are kind of doing one of these actions here. I would like to see it get rid of that 108 level and probably take out this fair value gap if this is going to take. If you don't know, they changed CEOs, so it kind of played a little bit of part in this whole entire stock. But yeah, if it can get above that 99, we'll get to the center pivot at 102. Nice, good, solid trend. That's what's here. Is what I'm seeing here. And maybe if we go to the weekly, probably get, yeah, something like that. Or maybe even this is our trend, especially with the MACD and the stochastic starting to open up. Get through this order block around 98 and 96, somewhere around there. And then you could get a nice little explosion here and take out fair value gaps. Even we'll have one up here to 111. That should tell all the bears to get out the way because they're coming in hot and they're not going to be playing with them. All right. One more. Let's go to the daily. Daily is a little exhausted, so it's probably not a good time to get in per se right now. But if we could get a nice little reset of this oscillator, maybe even get another crossover in the stock, because we just crossed over in the bullish side on the MACD. This thing probably could take off, take the rest of the gap, and that gap is where the block is, and that block could go ahead and get us into that 100 level again. I think Starbucks can get to $100. I really do. All right. It is 8:20, so let me go ahead and take a peek. Let me make sure there's no news. I don't think so, but it is quad witching, so Stranger Things has happened. Uh, if you're starting to see that your shares or anything is starting to act up a little bit, or the valuation is, this is just people repositioning. And if you have enough time horizon on your trade or your position, you might want to just kind of weather the storm, get past June 20th. Actually, get past the month, get past June, because this is when everybody changed their quarterly positions, their yearly positions, and their semi-annual positions, especially hedge funds and pension managers. So just make sure you're doing that. All right, so we got one news that's coming out in 9 minutes. Like I said, Stranger Things has happened. It says it's high. I don't know this one. NY Empire State Manufacturing Index. Now, with the term, what pops up in my head here, after kind of dealing with this whole tariff talks and everything that's going on with Trump, manufacturing, that means we're creating. That's what's kind of like sounding out on me a little bit. And because of tariffs, are we going to be exporting? Like, how does this number react on here? Are we going to get more domestic product push here? Very interesting stat. So we'll see how the market reacts to it in 9 minutes. Let me just take a nice little peek over at my position on NQ and ES. Let's see what we got so far. And let's fix this to the 15-minute. 332 ticks and 80 ticks is still kind of trucking along. Let's just take a peek at what's going on. Almost, ES is almost to the top here. That's what I'm looking for. NQ is just pure vertical at this point, which I'm not happy with. Maybe we get a nice little explosion, but I think I would have wanted a bigger explosion here. Are they waiting for 9 minutes? Maybe the A30? Is that what it is? Yeah, so that'll be 8:30. Maybe they're waiting for that 8:30 to kind of give me that 400 tick move in itself. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, get a nice little break here. That's all right. Let me put the dotted one there. All right, let's go back to the tickers. What else we got? 12 month. Roblox surprised me. I am not going to lie. I felt like this was kind of like that bottom per se, because we kind of built a base. I felt like it kind of reversed. Like, why couldn't SoFi do this? No, I'm just joking. I'm joking. But why is this thing like pushing like this? So I'm going to do my trend line deviations and kind of point out what it could be when it's all said and done. So this is what it kind of looks like right now. So let's go ahead and do the same thing on the daily, but we're gonna just look at the monthly. The monthly, we kind of have this here. We got a fair value gap that we're sitting on. This is April, and then right now this is what we're forming. We got like 14 days until this candle closes, so this is not official. They can come right back in here and make this fair value gap a lot smaller. But if we look over here, this was a bearish fair value gap, and maybe they came here to get that bearish fair value. What just happened? Why did it just disappear? Oh, I probably got my template set on. Yeah, I probably got the template. Hold on. Let me fix that. Rectangle. There we go. All right, so, and now we're on top of it. Yeah, that's probably what it is. They probably came for the fair value gap, saw that there was a good opportunity, and those that were in from like maybe building the base here and are still kind of like in, and they might be looking for a target. That would be interesting if it gets into here. Very interesting. All right, let's go over to the weekly. Weekly looks like this, and it's just it had a run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out of the past 10 weeks has been nothing but pure profit gaining. So this looks really, really relatively good. So let's see, are they exhausted? That weekly, it is at the top of the register. That daily has already reset. So let's ask ourselves the question, where did everybody come from? I think that everybody came from this area here. May 2022 was probably capitulation, and it was like, I think we got enough of the, you know, non-diamond hands. I know I'm going way pandemic level on that one. I know y'all probably haven't heard that in a while. Maybe they got all of them shook here. Probably got Reddit to stop talking about it. I'm trying to find its lowest point of trend. That looks like that's the lowest. All right, and then we got this area here. That's probably our second part of that deviation. Where are you? There you are. All right, we got 5 minutes into that news releases, so patience, folks. We'll get to that. Don't forget that like and subscribe button. It really helps that algorithm lead to monetization, which is my goal. See if I can get there by 2025. And then this one right here. Yeah. All right, so this is what we have, right? So let me get rid of this, and then we'll kind of look at it in its tightest form. So the moment we kind of created this move, it kind of consolidated and kind of liquidated folks along the way. So of course this is one of the pivots here that they broke, and when we broke out of here at this point, that means this is our point, and there was some internal structure that was being built throughout that time. So I think these people, and these people are in, while the original investors are somewhere back here, and they're just enjoying. They probably even sold to some of these folks here, minimizing the exposure. Solid gap fills. This is where that fair value gap on that monthly got filled. Let me see. Are they turning a profit? Still not turning a profit though. Very interesting. So maybe a pullback is going to happen. Maybe it's a squeeze. Maybe a lot of things. I'm not sure. Let's see. Yeah, maybe they were racing to get to that 100. Let me get another deviation in here. Let's see if I can make it make some sense here. How about this? Oh yeah, we're real vertical. We are really, 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 really vertical. Not saying this is a good time for you to get inside the roadblocks. I won't say that. But this trend line is literally what we're riding on. See how it reacts when we get to 100. Mark this. See how the reaction is at 100. If it reacts where it starts a sell-off, this could be the catalyst that really starts to create that bump and run action. Now, pre-market, we've already blown through what could have been the start of the party here. And you could kind of see people has been catching knives trying to play this down. That's that one there. This one was an attack there, and they couldn't get out of there. This one was an attack there. They couldn't get that. This one was a little bit flattish, and it probably was really rounding that top, and then they used them as liquidity fodder and just took them all out. This one was probably the last line of defense before they got into that fair value gap, and you could kind of see how the market resisted for a little bit until they consolidated sideways until they broke out. So there must be some really, really good news or good rumors going on with Roblox, but they've been really taking the Bears money every single succession here. So this was the last one pre-market. See if we can get back under there. Probably leave that there, and then we'll come back and revisit that. All right, we got news coming up, so let's go ahead and check out NQ and see what it does to it. Still kind of going in that upper register. I would probably tighten on my stop. Roughly about $3 grand profit there. All right, we got ourselves a few more seconds, 17 seconds to be exact. Let's see how it goes. I'm expecting muted because I don't know this one relatively well. But because this is quad witching, they can use anything as a catalyst to do something, and that's what I was thinking. Because it's just standing on an island by itself, and it's the only one. Then you got the GDP growth of Europe and all that good stuff there, which I was playing the Euro not too long ago. Maybe I'll get back into that position. I think there's more upside on the Euro. It's going to gain strength, which is going to make the dollar drop, which is going to make the market rock all the way back up to the upside, and I think I'm in the right position for it. Kind of letting the market get in sync. Tomorrow, let's go ahead and drag this over and kind of talk over the news and itself. We got retail sales. Retail sales should give you a little bit of an insight of what the consumers are doing. I'm anticipating we're not really growing from that standpoint. So that's going to kind of make the market pull back a bit. But again, we're kind of on that upper register, pushing to the upside for quad witching. Nothing really stands out here. I don't know industrial production and all that, but then with talks of tariffs, maybe some of this stuff is going to come to play. So just keep an eye on those times. Mortgage applications, housing starts, and jobs report is going to be on Wednesday. Shouldn't it be Thursday? And then we got oil inventory. We got some bill auctions in here, and then, they front loaded it. So Wednesday we're gonna have a whole lot of junk. FOMC interest rate decisions. I anticipate possible lowering of the interest. I know it's kind of crazy, right? But I think what's Jay Powell's going through right now, trying to figure out this whole entire economy, and people are complaining, and they cracked down on the PPP and EIDL stuff, so there's a lot of cash that they're probably sitting on the coffers because they probably took a lot of the things that they used the money to buy those Lamborghinis and everything else. For those that you haven't got caught with the PPP or EIDL, I'll just let y'all know they are looking for all y'all that said y'all had 75 million employees and all that good stuff. So good luck. So we'll see what ends up happening there. You're gonna have a press conference right after at 2:30. So that's going to really, 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 really kind of toy with the market. So look for Wednesday to be a little volatile. Let's see what Thursday have. Thursday we have nothing at all. So they front loaded everything so that way they can have Thursday completely free. Oh, that's cute. And then Friday we're gonna get close to the end of the month, so we should have something. Consumer confidence, that's for Europe, but nothing really Philly. So they might have front loaded us everything on Wednesday, destroy the market on Friday, and then that next week, because it's going to be the end of the month, and coming into non-farm payroll for the next month, probably going to be the next catalyst. That's why I want to prepare you with these stocks. Let's go ahead and get this out the way, and let's look at the stocks. Ooh, really? You're going to just pull back on me? You're going to take my money? Let's see. Maybe I should just tighten this up while I do this with y'all. Let's tighten it up. Tighten it up. I'm going to put it, I don't want them to come visit this fair value gap. We'll call it here. And then this is my ES. And I'll probably get back in because I really think they're going to go for that other level, but it's a whole nother conversation. And ES will put it right there. All right, so I can go ahead and turn my back without any problems. What other tickers we got? What we got? And maybe I'll put this like this. I can see if it fills. So next month, what else we got? So I did Starbucks, PVH, Freeport Moran, SoFi. If you want to, you can go ahead and put a ticker if you like. I'm gonna come back up into here because I want to go to the interesting ones and do this. Let's go with Tesla. Tesla is getting his butt whipped a little bit, and you already know it's because Elon Musk just has no chill, and that's part of the problem. The other part of the problem is the fact that there's a lot more competition that's coming into play. Uh, I'm not gonna say that Lucid is one of them, but there's tickers like you already know. Mercedes has came out with theirs. It's not a bad vehicle. It's not technically inclined like a Tesla. I've test drove that one, but it's a fun drive nonetheless. Um, and I'm not going to talk about the you know rudimentary stuff like your Hyundai's electric or anything like that. I'm talking about the more the high end. I haven't tried the BMW ones, but I've heard some good things about it. One of my neighbors had one. When I drove it for a little bit, but to really understand it, I like to kind of like uh, either test drive at the dealership or rent it. But again, it's BMW. Most BMWs are fun drives, anyways. So that was kind of pretty cool. So Tesla's got a lot of competition that's out. I like the fact that part of that negotiation was that the NC or whatever it is, their charge port is kind of like the standard. If you don't understand the different charge port, if you ever been in an EV, those bigger plugs are because there's a compartment that's not built into the vehicle, so that's why the size is so big. While Tesla puts it automatically into the vehicle, almost like a maybe like a converter or something along the lines, and that's why theirs is more like a needle size versus the other one. You kind of have to use two hands to kind of like plug in. So I think that is going to be big for Tesla because they got the patents on it, and that's where I'm like curious on why Tesla is dropping. I really thought Tesla was going to drop down to the 200s. Let's go over into the monthly because the violent drop of it. Yeah, I thought they were going to get all the way down to this register, but looks like they bounced it right off of this level. I want to see if June holds. If July holds, then we're probably going to attack here, which would bring us above 367 on Tesla. And then you're probably going to get a full-fledged complete reversal because we've been on this downtrend here. This was the breakout, and could that have been the retest? Very, very possible. Let's go ahead and look at the weekly, and yeah, they had a really bad week with that Trump um, back and forth, Twitter spat and crap and all that stuff. But it filled back. It's back to its regular scheduled program. Looks like they kind of realized that this is actually a sound company. Again, when you return money to shareholders, I know it's 27 cents and 46 cents, but it's positive. You got Roblox that doesn't return anything and they're skyrocketing. They're going to take money out of those and put it in things that actually makes money, and Tesla's not far from it. Of course, if they made some tweaks, they probably could actually generate better profits and return more money to shareholders, and that would be the catalyst that makes more people come and maybe take out this upper level. But can you imagine Tesla getting back to that 500 level again? That would really make NQ print to the upside. What else we got? Oh, daily. That's what I wanted to kind of break down. If you haven't traded Tesla, Tesla on the daily looks like a 1 minute chart. Lots of gaps, lots of imbalances. It just goes all over the place. It's very violent. You could be in position one time and then I know it switches. So I do prefer the weekly, and that's why I probably was about to change charts because this is more of a smoother chart to read than the other. But if you want to go ahead and look at the daily, it does look like we was kind of putting in that H pattern at one point. Then it created a double bottom. Then we got the extension, which gave us the double bottoms valuation. This was the news of the running their mouths, which kind of gave us this curl back as if people took their profits from the double bottom. Now that we're back above what was previous resistance, that turns into support. That makes me think that we won't get under 300 again. And I think that this was just a sweep, just like this was a sweep, and we'll see what happens there. What else we got? I like Boeing. I do like Boeing. I like Boeing because they will not let this thing die. That's the only reason. Kind of got a nice little sweep to the downside here. Kind of pushed it right back up. I won't be surprised by the end of the year Boeing gets back to 258. Got a fair value gap on the monthly. That's right here. It's bearish. This is pandemic rejection. I don't know if we're going to get this far. But inflation is sticky, like Jay Powell says. And that means no one wants to give a discount and make deflationary actions. Only thing that can do that is something that no one will ever want to say or do, which is either a recession or depression. That's the only way, because what it does a massive reset to prices. But in this economy where we do quantitative easing and we throw money all over the place and this, that, third, it kind of stagnates and kicks the can down the road. Eventually, you're going to have to pay the Pied Piper, but that's a whole nother conversation. So, trust me, click the like, subscribe, and the bell button. Get your one-on-ones. Because if you can't read the charts, you're going to be on the wrong side of the coin. I promise you that. But yeah, so this is a nice little triple bottom type of action here. Maybe coming for that fair value gap that I pointed out. Getting into that 280. But I do think it's going to be tough at that 255. This is probably door flying off the plane level. And that's why it's responding as such. And it's going from that point. So let's see. Could it be this area here is what they're looking for? We got that center pivot here of 222. And 200 is probably that psychological level. Maybe that's what they're doing this dance. I got 14 days to here. Maybe, I think I already wrote something on that. I'm going to have to check my BA listing. I think we could probably get to that 222. A break above 212 will probably give us that push to go after it. Let's see what the oscillator say. Weekly is a little tired. Monthly party just kind of started, especially if they cross that MACD to the 0. And then the daily is in the middle of a reset. Keep an eye on the stochastic. If that stochastic crosses right back up to the upside and price action gives some type of signal along the lines of maybe like an morning star or something along the lines, and start to attack here, kind of like that. Building a solid base, I won't be surprised that it gets there. Maybe a little bit more shallowish, because this thing kind of does. Well, actually, I take that back. And then earnings is coming up. If you know, you know. Earnings is probably going to be the one that drives that catalyst. Yeah, like 17 minutes. I just want to give y'all tickers to kind of keep your eye out, but I just want to stay in this next month cycle. I don't, let's go this way. Let's do it like that. I already did Meta. This is for personal consumption. Lockheed Martin. I think this is just only because of the war, and it's not really going to go anywhere. But again, I can be wrong. You already see that it already gapped down from 486 down to 481. This is smoke and mirrors. I don't like this ticker and where it is. If I go to the monthly, it looks like this. Maybe it'll curl up, but if you go to the weekly, it looks like this. That's disgusting. If you go over to the daily, it looks like this. Again, never really reset, and this feels like solid consolidation. Did they know that they were gonna attack somebody so they can put money in the coffers of Lockheed Martin? That's what it looks like to me. Yeah, I don't know. Well, yeah. Anyways, Microsoft is in all-time highs. It needs a little bit of a cool down. I won't be surprised that they bring this down before the month is over. This is HCA. This is going to be prevalent to what happens with UNH. UNH dropped. HCA popped. So I want to see how they respond to this, because if they take their capital out of here, they're going to park it into the same sector, or usually majority of them put it in the same sector, and then get one of those pivots out of there. So These are the two that you want to watch together. This is for personal consumption. This is Tesla. We already went over it. IBM. Oh, yeah, I should have looked at it on the yearly. Damn, IBM. And that's the thing, right? This would be very choppy, and it was, if you kind of look at it from perspective. And I think I said something along the lines for Starbucks, right? I think that's what it was. Yeah, it was Starbucks. So I kind of did the same thing along the lines of like, oh, it's very choppy. It's all inside, and you're gonna have profits, and then they're gonna take it away. If we look at the reaction after, and that's why I said at the end of the day, these companies, when they're good companies and they're returning money to shareholders, people are just gonna accumulate positions. This is probably everybody's accumulation, including people that's been in since the 80s, probably CEOs, ex board members, all that stuff, and they're still holding, giving proper support, and the market has no choice but to buy the dip each and every time because it doesn't really drop, right? They were in the cutting edge of AI, anyways. If you don't know their Watson system, look it up when they started, how they worked at it. But this is a nice pop afterwards, and it's all because of this consolidation from yearly. So if you're an investor, you probably want to look at that yearly. JPM, I don't care too much for it. RCL needs a little bit of a pullback. Waste management. This thing just feels like it's just so far away, but I feel like you're missing out a little bit. All right, before I give you our FOMO, let's keep this moving. T-Mobile needs a pullback. I think they're a little too far. I think they're a little overvalued for the most part. Their dividends is not the greatest. I don't care for it. 245 for 228. Could benefit from a split because their sector can be very volatile. You know, they're the leaders in the space right now, but you know, let's just say Verizon comes out with a new technology that requires everybody to kind of like shift to their side, kind of like when Apple did exclusivity with only AT&T. A lot of people switched to AT&T during that time, affecting the market share rate at that point. So if something chaotic like that happens, you could get T-Mobile falling, and I think a lot of this is falling because it is overvalued. Could they be looking for it to reset somewhere here? I really think it's going to reset to 209, but we'll see how that goes. And this year is not really turning out too well. After making a massive move here and potentially putting in what should be a fair value gap, after making another yearly fair value gap, which is this one here. Let's make this bullish so it can be green. All right. Probably getting ourselves a little bit of a retest to see how much this fair value gap can hold. I like to throw fibs on this like that, and we're already below the 236 of the year. Maybe they'll come back to the 50%, 203, maybe even come down to 192. But if it touches 192, I think this thing's just going to go ahead and come down. They're looking for something else. Boring, we talked about Apple. We talked too much about restoration. We talked about Johnson Johnson. I don't care for. CVX oil is going to pull back, only because of the fact that I do feel like the war is just a catalyst more than a fundamentally sound situation for valuation. So I think this thing is probably going to come back. RTX is going to keep on going to get government contracts, cut personal consumption. Already told y'all about 3M a few times, and DR Horton almost filled this fair value gap on the yearly. ZOM pulling back, UPS trash can. Well, let me take a step back. I call this trash can only because of the fact that this chart is sitting at an order block and it shows no real sign of reversal, and this is a massive fall from grace. It's half its value from the pandemic run. And you already know during the pandemic, everything was being shipped to people. No one was really visiting anybody. So, you know, being in that position kind of like really lets you know that something chaotic can happen. So it's best that you kind of like really understand that this space here, it's either it's will do or mildew. That's the best way of saying it. Let's see, AZZ looks like that. Charles Schwab, I've already told you how I feel about that. Citibank, Citibank is probably what I'm going to be staring my most focus on. I'm looking for this thing to get into the $100. I'm not gonna lie. PVH, Newmont, GM, Freeport, Moran. Tight consolidation here. Could they get a nice little explosion sitting on top of a fair value gap? Maybe. Alcoa, SoFi, not enough information, and I will not do anything with airlines. Don't care for it. And let's go ahead and get back over to NQ. Oh, we got a rebounds. Appreciate y'all. I thought y'all was gonna come back for my stop loss. Oh, I'm not out of the woods yet. I am not out of the woods yet. It kind of came back. Looked like new buyer stepped in, but this thing, it could go ahead and try to make lower lows, and this would be our micro trend versus our major trend. And I did say that this is extremely vertical, coming off this block. This is our kind of like our major trend with a bit of a deviation. And if there was something that they're attacking, it's this. First attack was a bounce, then here's a rejection. If this 15-minute doesn't get back above here in the next 8 minutes, it's probably gonna come down. See how it looks on ES. ES might be a little different. Trend, yeah, it's a little bit more flatter coming off of there. A deviation to that upside is here. So we got here to here, then here to here, something like that. And we got the micro trend that's beating it up, kind of like that. Still could be in the upside as long as the pivot holds, which is around here. Lots to like here. Let's go over the commodities as a whole. This is oil. Let's take a step back, see what they got going on. Again, I'm gonna pull back. That's the best way to say it. I don't think this is over. I think they might come back over the $68 when it's all said and done. How they treat $68 will tell us if it's going to continue up, but I don't think so. Gold was being a jerk. I want to respect my London. I was looking for the fair value gap and then some. Silver's trying its best to drag it around. Still is. British pound made new highs, but they try to recapture this lower wick. Could they liquidate everybody and just push all the way back up? That would really put some pressure on the dollar. Russell filled its fair value gap. Is that what you came for? And then you're just going to drop, take your capital out of the market, and then make NQ pop. And then that is your that is your US dollar, British pound. That is your US dollar, and that US dollar does look like it is trying its best not to continue to fall. I think it will, because it has almost no choice. We do have some European information coming in the next 5 minutes. Oh, it's just growth rate. That's not gonna have no. Maybe, because if it strengthens the euro, then probably gonna put the dollar more in pressure of coming down. And the euro, let me grab this chart for y'all to kind of show y'all what I was doing. So this was the London session. I was playing it up, and it's just really building that base here. And if we really dig deep in here, yeah, it's been really trying to like push. There's our 18. This is them trying to drop it, and that drop didn't happen. Asian. And then you can see we use that support, boom, 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 and then hold in there. So yeah, probably could play a little bit of a part. We got 5 minutes. Yeah, let's go ahead and see if I can get a nice little fun scalp with y'all online, as this thing still looks like it's going to hold up. Oh, this is my other chart. Like, why my drawing looks so weird? I don't want to confuse y'all. Let's put that up there. Yeah, we're holding that base. I want them to treat here as a whole as an order block. So anything that happens inside of this area on a small time frame with solid oscillator support, I'll probably be playing to the upside. Let me go grab my other chart. I'm already in it? Oh, okay, I'm already in it. Maybe I should do that. Yeah, you know what? For giggles. Let's go with that one. Interesting. Alright, I don't see anything yet. They might be just chilling now, but I'm gonna be patient because I think it's about to reset one of my oscillators. And then I'm gonna take a nice little move to that upside. Yeah. Just seeing if we can hold this 40 level, and that 40 level makes us fly through that 50 level. Yeah, stochastic cross. I'm in the best position, but it's still a cross nonetheless. Yeah, it's taking out some levels. I was looking for 40 to hold. I was gonna put my stop loss at 35, but they got under 40 just now. I'm sorry for all the yawning. Like I said, I've been getting up at 10, 6, 2 of every new 4-hour candle to kind of see where the market goes. It's an old technique that I used to do way back, and kind of gives me a gauge of the path of the market. Alright, got 47 seconds here. Seeing if this is going to be the base. Oh, they already took it out. I was just about to step into that one. Don't get your hand caught in the cookie jar. Yeah, let's see if this is it. Riskier business. Alright. And I have a tight stop. and putting in the. Let's see. I'm looking for a reversal to already start right now. See if we can get that. Super tight stop because I do believe where I'm at the bottom. 55 bucks on NQ so far. 100, 130, 105. I'm looking for him to test that top before I actually move this any closer. Let my stop loss work. There's a nice little pop here using a new 1 hour candle would be great. Again, I prefer the 2, 6, and 10 versus just coming in at 9. Well, we're getting close to New York session, so I think a lot of people sit on the sidelines and repositioning themselves and looking for that continuation there. So we'll see how that goes. Again, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and the bell button. My one-on-ones are down below. It's in the description. They do end on June 30th. So this would be a good time to ask me all the good questions that y'all normally have. And remember, squeaky wheel gets the oil. So it's totally free. No obligations. And it showed me 200 bucks, but I thought we were going to get out of the box itself. So I kind of held on to that. Thought about tying it up, but they're really messing with it. Oh, there we go. There we go. Come on. Can we get out of there? Is it strong enough? And let me get rid of this so you can see what I see. This is how I have it for my eval. Looking for them to get into here. Looking for them to get into here. And then looking for them to take out all of here. Kind of use all that liquidity. I think it's a good time for me to go ahead and push this into profit. Oh, come on. Come on. Come on. I was just about to push you into profit. Don't you dare. There you go. Push it into profit. Let's see if we can get a little bit of a market reaction to that. See if we can get some continuation. Ah, they took me out. I'll take the 155. Good scalp. All right. I bid you a fun farewell. Thank you for taking the time and joining with your boy. And like I said, I'm working on new content and everything else. That way I can always keep y'all informed on what's going on with the market. And that way you can make a sound decision. Because again, our goal is to become 1% better each and every day. So have a great day. Good luck out there. And don't forget, at the end of the day, it's not being right or wrong. It's just, are you able to execute? And when the month of execution, I want everybody to hit the goals that they're looking for. So I'll see y'all tomorrow at 8 a.m. Bye-bye.